Okay, so we're going to find the entrance pupil for this camera and lens pair and this panoramic tripod head. The entrance pupil, along with a few parts of Photoshop, is the most technical thing in this stitched panoramic photography training course. You need to have a little spare time in front of you to correctly ascertain its location, but once you've found it, you don't need to repeat the step because, as we saw in a previous lesson, panoramic heads are marked with scales, so you just need to note the measurements you found initially and repeat them every time you use the same camera lens pairing. First of all, we can see this camera is badly set up and not at all horizontal, so let's make it level. So out comes the spirit level, and since we have the high-end tripod with a movable central post, all I need to do is loosen the screw and move the central post so my bubbles are level and therefore my panoramic head is level. We can see in a practical field test just how fast this method of leveling the camera is. Now, to set the entrance pupil for this lens in the right place, we need to make sure the entrance pupil is over the axis of rotation for this panoramic tripod head. To do this, we need to place the camera near a foreground element, this lamppost for instance, with a sharp and defined edge, and a background element that's a fair distance away. First of all, I'm going to frame the lamppost on the far right hand side of the picture, and I'm going to look for a detail in the distance. Turning the camera so that the lamppost is on the left, and I can still see the detail in the distance, I know that if the background detail is moved, my camera isn't at the entrance pupil position. My two consecutive images won't have the same positions of the foregrounds and the background, and our stitching program is going to have a hard time stitching these details together. For a good stitch, the details on the two consecutive photos have to match perfectly. That's why we can slide the head's arms forward and backwards, and this part side to side. So, first of all, I'm going to position myself in front of the camera and move the arm side to side to perfectly align the lens with the axis of rotation. So I step back a bit, and there we go, that's perfect. I've perfectly aligned the entrance pupil of the lens with the panoramic head. Now I have to find the other axis front to back, and so I'll need my viewfinder to look at the scene I want to photograph. So I look through the viewfinder and I put the edge of the lamppost on the right of my viewfinder, and I note a detail that crosses the line of the edge of the lamppost in the background. Once done, I turn my camera so that I have the same edge of the lamppost on the left side of the viewfinder this time. Now I look to see if that background detail has moved. By toing and froing, I can see that this detail has slightly moved. Since we perfectly aligned our camera over the axis of rotation, there's only one other plane to check, and that's forward and back. So I look on the scale of the arm, and I see that the camera is at 54mm. So I'll move it slightly by 1mm, and I'll check the lamppost and the background again. And by trial and error, I'll arrive at exactly the right place. So here we are at 53.5mm, which is perfect here. My camera is now perfectly set up. When I turn the camera on the panoramic head, there is no difference between foreground and background details because the axes of rotation are centered on the entrance pupil. I just need to note down the settings somewhere, those for the top arm and those for the bottom arm. Then I just need to set up the panoramic head using the same settings next time I want to take a panoramic photo, which goes very fast, which is good for days like today when there are cloudy and sunny moments. So if I want to take a photo during a sunny moment, I need to be able to set up very quickly. So that's why this setup needs to be done calmly when you have the time, rather than on the spot, like we are now. Okay, so the entry pupil for this 35mm lens for this camera is set. I just need to do the same thing for the 2 or 3 other lenses and cameras that I use regularly in my collection. For a fixed lens, just one entrance pupil, obviously, but for a zoom lens, 2 or 3 usually suffice for the regular uses you put your zoom to. So that's how we set the entrance pupil. Let's move on to how to take a picture.